Welcome students of Form 3B, sorry about that. We are continuing this video. This is part 2 of 1. We're talking about transmitting and transforming Caribbean cultural heritage. And note, I will also give examples of our island, of Curaçao. We talked about the learning outcome. We made a paragraph aqui. At the end of this topic, you'll be able to evaluate the ways in which cultural heritage, music, religion, ways of thought in the Caribbean is transmitted to the rest of the world, to the island, and transformed. Eta cambiante aqui também. And we talked about evaluating is looking at its pros, looking at its cons, advantages, disadvantages. So looking at it from different angles. Evaluating. We call this a behavioral verb. Yeah, a verb that is variable, something you do. Comportatie. Yeah, and the behavioral comportación verb, verbo de comportación, está aquí, evaluate. Look at it from different directions actually. Yes? Good. Evaluate. And we said evaluating is looking at its weaknesses, shortcomings, but also at its strengths, advantages. Looking at its disadvantages, but also looking at its benefits. So looking at it from different angles and identifying, naming those different sides of something. Yeah, for instance, how we transmit and transform our cultural heritage. And we said before, you have to use your knowledge. Yes, using the knowledge. It's very important here. So you have knowledge, bom tem conhecimento, o mestre usa esse aqui também. Okay, evaluate the ways in which cultural heritage in the Caribbean is being transmitted and being transformed. Very good. Well, one important aspect of that is institutions. That's one way in which we transmit and transform the culture and the cultural heritage, herencia, de Curaçao, and of the Caribbean. So a number of institutions exist. Why? To preserve and transfer aspects of Caribbean culture. They're very public, so everybody can see them and participate in their activities. And they organize lectures and exhibitions that you can visit, like museums. Yeah, so they organize lectures and they exhibit things. Yeah, for instance, you have the art school Buena Vista, and as we speak, the 26th of November 2024, they organize this Friday exposition about hair, kabay, yeah, and how hair can be a form of status, a form of pride, and a form of culture. That is a great example of this. Buena Vista, the art school close to Capriles Clinic, actually on the train of Capriles. Yes. So, and also think organizations like the Curaçao Museum or the NAM or the Archive. Yeah, Archive of Curaçao, the National Archive, has an open day, Dia Abre, Dia Sábado. This Saturday, it has an open day. It is open for the public. Yeah, these are institutions on the island. So, preservar, they want to preserve things so people in the future can also see them. Yeah, that's very important. Preservar. What are examples of these institutions? What categories can we put them in? We have national trusts. They receive money from the government or people like you and me, and with that money they try to preserve culture, music, art, food, yeah, language. Museums that have material culture, paintings, old artifacts, old materials from the past. Art galleries that show art on its walls and expose it. And archives like the National Archief, the National Archive that you can visit, the beautiful old green building, bolo, the bolo grande. It was called the big cake, I believe. You can also visit that in Punda. Yes. So a few examples of these institutions or institutes on our island are, so what are important words before I start with the examples? Representation, so they show it to the public. They select things that represent our culture and make an exposition of it. Representation, panos cultura. Also important here, you get to know, Hanyasa, what your culture is. For young people like you, who are like flooded with global mass media and know what Fortnite is, might not know what Tambu is, or might not know where Seiyu stands for, or might not know the depths of Papiamentu language. You get to know, Bohanyasa, what your own culture is. And each country in the world has these institutions. So Jamaica has them, the United States has them, the Netherlands has them. They have institutes that promote, preserve, and offer representation of our culture, by which you get to know, Anyasa, what your culture of your own country and your own society, sociedad, actually is. For instance, por ejemplo, a national archief, daar un archive, national archief. Yeah? But for instance, the Tula Museum, is also a museum. It's also an institute. They offer lectures. This Saturday, I'm speaking the November 26th, they offer a walk to the area of Plantage Knip to get to know how big it was and how big the plantation was. So they do more than only show what a building is or show their archive. They also give a representation of the past and of the culture, and are manners in which you can get to know about your past, the past of the island, por Hanyasa e historia, y manera aquí, por Hanyasa, por cultura. Important, you get to know Hanyasa. And also the Curacao Museum is also a place where Curaçaoan art, Curaçaoan history also meets. A beautiful museum where you can find a lot about Curaçaoan art and Curaçaoan culture. So these, the Tuna Museum, the Curaçaoan Museum, the National Archive, are all spots where you can get to know more about the culture, the history e historia di Curaçao, e cultura di Curaçao, y por Hanyasa más conocimiento y tocante historia y cultura di Curaçao. Yes? So, festivals are also an important part of the culture in many Caribbean cultures. Yes? So when you look at the traditions during Carnival, when you look at the traditions coming way back from Africa, the drums, walking on high stelts, steltenlopen, then these things are also transmitted from abroad, but became a part of Caribbean culture. Yes, later on I will tell more about this example. But what are examples on the island of Curacao? Yes, for instance, the Tumba Festival each year. Last year, the 52nd, more than 52 editions last year. Yes, but also the way the government, because you see the logo in the top, last week and the week before on Brienplein there was a small festival about tambour music. Yes, and last weekend in the Sambil there was a representation di Kai-orgel. So these are also manners, ways in which the government and institutes on Curaçao show and represent their culture. Tá un representación de cultura and the gobierno ayuda aquí. The government helps with this. but also local trusts, museums, institutes help with the, de preservación e preservar di cultura e representación di cultura, yeah, in all kinds of ways and manners. Yes. And in this way, they try to keep the global mass media from flooding you guys, the young persons, and also preserving many of the culture that if they wouldn't do that, perhaps the Kai Orgel wouldn't be as famous, and also perhaps Tambu would have been less known. So this is a way of preserving the culture. I already talked about Gobierno. I already talked about the role of government. Government significa gobierno. Yeah? En gobierno, gobierno nan reconoce la importancia de preservación de nacional, cultura nacional. Gobierno nan reconoce eso. Yeah, I hope that was pretty good in my papiamento. But governments recognize the importance of preserving and upholding national culture, national heritage, herencia. And it's usually a department of ministry responsible for cultural matters. So we have a Ministerio de Enseñanza y Cultura y Deporte. So we have the ministry led by Citri Heidoorn. Yeah, he is the Minister of Sports, Education, but also of Culture. So you see Minister Heidoorn a lot on TV promoting national heritage. And his ministry, his part of government, promotes Kai Orgel, and also the weekend before, there was on Brionplein, there was a festival dedicated to Tambu. Yeah, so government is really important in this, in the upholding and preserving national heritage. A major role of government is to provide financial and other resources to institutions, groups, and individuals to support the work they do in regard of promoting this. So they're very important because they provide money and policy, yeah, metoda, strategia for the work that they do in regards to promoting cultural education. That is really important. So government can assist the promotion of cultural heritage by, what do they do? Supporting construction or development of art centers. Yeah, so the buildings and all the organization it needs of galleries and archives. So they support National Archief. They support the Tula Museum. They support Arte di Palabra. Yes. They support the place of arts and culture and education. Yes. Enabling artists to move and work freely within the region. By the way, they're also supported by the government of the European Netherlands, and they're also like the Caribbean funds and the funds of the Fonds voor de Letteren. So all kinds of institutes within the Kingdom of the Netherlands also support them. So not only the government of Curaçao, and including regional arts within tourist promotions, which we have Chata, that's like the tourist organization of Curaçao, and they also try to promote local artists because local artists are really also something that brings in tourists. So tourism, promotion of culture, promotion of local arts is also connected. So government can help the promotion of local culture by these four manners. Yes, and in this way, they assist the promotion, the spread, e plasma, e conhecimento of local heritage by funding, giving money, but also providing a strategy, by also providing a method, yeah, by providing a policy of how you can promote local culture. And this is what we call the role of government. And the role of government, like I try to make clear, is of course very, very important, as it provides financial but also other resources for this. Okay, we have arrived at the end of this video. It was quite a long video. So what are the key points? I will go through this in a minute. Cultural heritage includes practices, ideas, and beliefs that have been passed on to us from our ancestors. Ancestors significa antepasado na. And we have received from them practices, ideas, and beliefs. For instance, you see here a young person receiving knowledge of Tambu from older men who transmit the culture of Tambu to the next generation. You see that in this picture very clearly. 2, individual artists as well as cultural groups transmit our cultural heritage. And 3, institutions such as natural trusts, art galleries, archives, and museums collect, store, and display. La Gamera is a key. And Bopor Hanyasa is a key. Works of art, historical records which can help reveal, show our cultural heritage. So you can visit a national archive, you can visit a museum, and by doing this, you can see our cultural heritage by yourself. It's open to us. Its main goal is being open to us. And governments can help in this. They provide assistance to individuals like artists, people, scientists, groups, and institutions involved in transmitir nos herencia cultural. They are involved in this. So this was my last slide. If you want to ring the bell and be subscribed, do that below. If you have questions, you can also ask them below. If you can help me improve my Papiamento, I'm always open to this. And you can always also chat with me on Teams or ask questions during class. I wish you a nice day, and I hope to see you soon.